Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humanoids of all descriptions, welcome to the channel. I'm Kat, this is my place. We're back for this month's tutorial in the kitchen. So, technical issues are the plague of anybody who does any type of digital media. This is my fourth attempt to bring you a video on making meatballs. So, if you're watching this video, please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. As always, any tutorial I do in the kitchen is meant mainly for those of you who find yourself on your own and not prepared to fend for yourself in the kitchen. We're going to start like we always do with necessary and nice to have utensils, followed by ingredients, the prep, and the cook. As usual, clean surfaces, clean utensils, and clean hands before you start. So, what do we need for utensils? We need our large pot. It's about 9 inches and it has a lid. We need a mixing bowl. Those of you who have been here before know that I prefer glass or ceramic. It doesn't discolor or impart unwanted flavors to any type of foods. We need a cutting board. Kitchen knife. All kitchen knives need to be sharp. A kitchen knife that's not sharp is not only worthless, it's dangerous. It's more likely to slip and to cut you. We need something to stir and to turn the meatballs with, so that can mean something made of silicone like this, or my immigrant grandmother's friends, the big wooden spoons. You may or may not need something to store the meatballs in. Now for nice to have, you know, if you've been here before, I like to use nitrile gloves when I work with meat. I tend to have skin injuries on my hands because I live alone. I heat with wood during the winter, and that always means I have some sort of open abrasion that needs to breathe. So when I'm handling food, gloves. Finally, on the nice to have list, the small food processor. So let's clear all this away and go to the ingredients. So here we are with our ingredients. Our first ingredient is, of course, the meatball mix. I choose to use store-bought meatball mix. Why is that? If you choose to make your own meatball mix, you're going to need a grinder. The meat grinder needs to go into the freezer. If you want to do that, go ahead. You're going to need equal amounts of beef, pork, and veal. You're going to need to cube it to about 1-inch squares, and you're going to have to put that in the freezer as well. Not till it's frozen solid, but till the surface is beginning to freeze. That way the fats in the meat won't bind and drag inside the auger for your grinder. Next, we have some parsley flakes, some Italian seasoned breadcrumb, an onion, an egg, and a clove of garlic. I like garlic. I will add more, but you need to have 1 clove. And again, this is about 1.5 pounds of meat. Finally, we have some olive oil. You don't want the olive oil that comes in a can or bottle with the green label on it. It's going to have a very strong, very bitter flavor to it. Stick to the olive oil with the gold label. It's going to come out on a kind of golden yellow color too. So we're going to get this set up and we're going to start to combine all of the ingredients. So the first thing that we're going to do, the onion and the garlic need to be diced up, and that means itty bitty pieces. You don't have to obliterate it in the food processor if you're going to use one of those, but it does need to be small pieces, smaller than a pencil eraser. So we'll get that done and bring you right back. Okay, so I've run the onions and the garlic through the food processor, and I've cracked the egg into it. Now, because I'm an idiot and I always forget to tell you something, you're going to need spaghetti sauce. And the spaghetti sauce is what we made the first time we did a tutorial. You need the spaghetti sauce because you're going to cook the meatballs in the sauce. So, we've got our parsley flakes. We're going to add some parsley flakes to this. That looks about right. And again, these recipes mainly come from my immigrant grandmother. There are no amounts. So you're going to have to eyeball it. Same thing here with the breadcrumb. It all depends on how much meat you start with. So that 1.5 pounds of meat, I have 1 egg. We're going to start mixing this together. We're going to get the onions and the egg thoroughly incorporated into the ground meat. And as that happens, one of the things you're going to see is that it looks kind of wet. And that's fine. But when it's in this very wet, loose state, it's not going to form a meatball, and it's not going to stay together in the pot when we brown the surface, and it's not going to stay together when we basically boil it in spaghetti sauce. And that's what the egg whites are for, or excuse me, the breadcrumb. So we'll start to add some of the seasoned breadcrumb, and we'll just keep working that into the meatball mix. And when that's finished and it's ready to go into the pot for the surfaces to be browned, I'll bring you all back. So I've got the mix all incorporated, and this is what your meatball should look like before it goes into your pot. So in the pot, we're going to put our olive oil. And we're going to put enough in there so that when we start browning the meatballs, they're not going to stick. So none of the meatballs should be in contact with the hot, dry bottom of the pot. Also, it's going to help keep the pot from burning up. Once you've rolled the meatballs around and the entire surface is browned, and I'll show you what that should look like, that's when you're going to go ahead and add your spaghetti sauce. Now, some of you are going to be saying, hey, wait a minute, Cap, how much spaghetti sauce do I need to add? Well, I don't know. I don't know how many meatballs you're making. I don't know how big your pot is. And so that's why we don't know how much sauce you're going to need. You need to have the meatballs covered or very nearly covered in sauce. You're basically boiling them to a cooked state in spaghetti sauce. So I'm going to get that started. I'm going to make the rest of the meatball mix into balls. I'm going to get them started, and then I'll bring you back when they're browned and we're ready to show you what that looks like. So here we are. The meatballs are all rolled into a ball. Oil is in the pot, and now the pot's been on high for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to take a loose bit of onion here. I'm going to drop it into the oil, and it's just coming up to temperature. There we go. So you can't put all the meatballs into the hot oil at the same time. It'll take all the heat out of the oil and the pot. So add them in ones and twos. That 1.5 pounds of meatball mix has yielded us 9 meatballs. So when the meatballs are browned on all sides, I'm going to bring you back, and then we're going to put the sauce in, and when that's finished, I'll bring you back again and we'll plate them up with some spaghetti. So here we are. I pulled one of the meatballs out of the pot of oil, and this is how it should look at this point. So the browning process cooks the exterior of the meatball to the point where when you add the sauce, it won't break apart, leaving you simply with a pot full of meat sauce. At this point, I've got 3 jars of spaghetti sauce. I may need a 4th. My jars are a little on the small side and the pot is a little large. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add the jars of sauce. And when everything is ready, I'll turn the heat down. When everything is ready, I'll bring you back and we'll plate this up on some sort of pasta. So I'll see you in a few seconds. So here we are. We've made our meatballs, put together a plate of pasta, and this is about what your results should look like. Remember, when you finish browning your meatballs, you don't want to go ahead, no matter how good they look, you don't want to go and eat them. They're only cooked on the very outside, and it has got pork in it. So the interior hasn't been cooked to a safe temperature yet until after they've been boiling in sauce for at least 15 minutes, preferably 20. And your meatballs, don't let them get any bigger than a tennis ball, preferably a little smaller than that. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week with another video. Thank you.